And I'm very inspired. Of course, I mean, the digital identity stuff is really important, but this privacy detector thing sparks also the imagination a lot, I think. I was thinking about maybe the legal guys should have some power, but then the other way around. What if there is a DAO where every data report of the government should be reported? The DAO hands over a certificate, and once there's a breach, the certificate is drawn and the data set is extracted again, or something like that. I think there's a lot of crazy ideas you can think in this challenge, and definitely go talk with JP, who was the last question, because he's basically owning crazy idea thinking. So the last part of the track deep dives, our own challenge, and when we started to think of the vision of commonization, of creating open digital public infrastructure, we saw a lot of opportunities to create new markets where people are able to help out in the best possible way, to reinvent the way we collaborate as humans, the way we reinvent massive collaboration to solve problems, and specifically problems that no one owns by themselves, right? As mentioned in the trailer. But you encounter a problem when funding the digital commons, because they belong to no one, right? But then they say, oh, we have ICOs, right? But then turns out that the incentives, the interest of all the players involved do not really align. So you can call it a utility token, but that might not be the solution always.
Perfect. I am dying out here. How much?
$1 worth of lemon coin, which is approximately 1,000 lemon coins. Whoa. Get that centralized currency out of my face. This is 2018. I only accept cryptocurrency here, preferably lemon coin.
I don't have whatever a lemon coin is.
Well, lemon coin's my utility token. It doesn't have a lot of utility yet, but we're working on it. One day it might go to $1.
Cool, I don't have lemon coin.
Fine, I'll also take Bitcoin or Doge.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'll come back for you someday.
What? You need like 200 of those.
How much is one Doge even worth?
One Doge always equals one Doge.
Okay, fine. How do I get lemon coin? Why is this so difficult?
I can sense your frustration. Think about it. It's the future of business. A trustless system without third parties. So to get lemon coin, I just need you to create an account on this third-party exchange.
I'm going to need your passport, bank info, social security number, and a selfie with today's date.
I thought you said this was a trustless system.
Oh, it is, as soon as the exchange trusts you.
You could trust us. We are the #1 crypto exchange in all of Krashimia.
I don't think that's a real country.
Look,
Kremlin.
You can make this an
Croatia.
easy transaction if you just follow the protocol, okay?
Okay.
Smile. Say KYC. Okay, so this will take 3 to 5 days to process. After that, when you are approved, you will probably not be notified. So check back in a week or so.
This is ridiculous. You're telling me that if anybody wants to buy lemonade, they need to go through this process?
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is the future of business. I've already got like a dozen customers.
Right. So when funding projects where you don't know what will come out of it exactly or what the business model will be. It turns out we can learn quite a lot from how ICOs played out, and I think we will learn a lot more. But where do we come from? We come from the VC model, basically, to fund startups. Of course, fueled largely by the way Silicon Valley was doing business. But that doesn't really work either for these kinds of projects. Imagine you go to a venture capitalist and you say, will you please invest in this open source project which has no owner, everybody can build on top of it, and everybody can use it without my permission. Crickets. So also the VC wants ownership, right? If we look at the startup model, the VC makes money in two ways. Either there's a huge amount of profit and he stays in there, or the company gets sold. That's basically the two flavors you have. And this is also, you have to invest in the equity of the startup. So that's where all the risk is, right? How many of the startups fail? Well, most of them. So there are a couple of problems, and they are difficult to solve as well when we talk about funding the digital commons and open digital public infrastructure. This summer, we started a bit of a journey in token engineering with a couple of our partners. We couldn't take them all on board, but a lot of them were, and we gained some help from some friends in the international crypto and blockchain space. And I want to share a bit of that journey with you. Oh wait, first the challenge. The challenge is to create a new type of investment vehicle, right? Where the incentives between the ones that build and invest are aligned, also with the incentives of the user. It should drive adoption, not keep users away from adopting it. And we do it. How can we take the startup risk out of it? Because that's what basically causes the stress in the model. So how can we make the digital commons economically viable?
Look at this space as a curiosity. Look at the blockchain space, the crypto space, as something that wants to prove a new paradigm in the world. It's not something that has to be production ready. It's something that has to make people rethink social values, money, collaborative commons. It's a big experiment, and it's where like too much technology converges with sociology, philosophy, ethics, communities, and it will give the rise to what we call the collaborative commons, where people start managing resources together rather than trying to own all the resources.
Well, it's about looking at how to create infrastructure to create ecosystems in this space that would launch and nurture new ideas, projects, all the way through to market.
A token where you say,
what we will try to do is create an environment where we can actually create indeed that new society. And it doesn't stop here in the Netherlands. It will go beyond the borders. It will become an international challenge. And that is also why it's so great that all the original thinkers are around the table.
I think this whole ecosystem is about transparency and being honest in wanting to make the world a better place. So that's why it's important to have everybody in the room.
Typically, when you've got meetings like this, you're shopping for momentum. They've got momentum, they've got the crowd, they've got all these people that want it to happen. It's really a machine design question.
So this is not about us, it's about enabling the ecosystem to grow to that next level.
Yes, the next adventure. This is really like intellectually a next step, or how can we, let's say, find out a way to crowdfund innovation in a responsible manner and keep the independence of the ecosystem.
The vision is very clear and people want it to happen, but you want it to happen in a prudent, regulated way.
I was here to see where we stand, where we can contribute. I think for us it's really important to see if we can support startups in the blockchain domain and what holds them back, and try to remove barriers, collaborating with the regulators and the supervisors to see if we can set up a system which is of high quality, basically certified.
People of the blockchain world thinking about how to create an ecosystem that supports the themes. People who have dreams and are building them in the hackathon, or that people who want to bet on dreams get actually some return.
It's nothing like this has ever really been done before. It's a new type of finance, and it's a new type of economic organization. So as we design these governance systems, we have to think ahead and also look at history and work out which kinds of problems are likely to arise. And what this means is that we need a multi-stakeholder system. So it needs to be something where there is proper governance in place, where investors can come in and make their returns, but where you also bring everybody along on the journey with you.
But what I find interesting is how can we combine these original thinkers and combine into the mainstream, because that's what we're talking about right now.
We're in this together. It's a global play, and in order to succeed, we need to have maximum inclusion. So we have to have the regulatory stakeholders, the banks, the insurance companies, the governments, and also the crypto people, because they have the vision. It used to be crypto anarchy. Now people understand it has a positive connotation as well. And if we combine those two elements, I think we can definitely build a framework for success.
Fixing the mess in the world and fixing the mess in crypto, because crypto is a mess.
It will be a real challenge to create a new finance model or ecosystem with the Dutch government and with the Dutch banks. And it will be awesome to do that in the Netherlands.
What's going on here in the Netherlands is very unique, because Dutch chain has pulled together government and industry and the startups, education, all of these things kind of talking and working together in a way that haven't seen this level of engagement anywhere else in the world. If you're going to start a movement, you got to have somebody who's going to bring everybody along and get everybody to participate.
So imagine you walk in at the hackathon on Friday, and on Monday you present as a winner, and perhaps a couple of weeks, or even if it's a couple of months later, what if your solution, not you, your solution would own hundreds of thousands or even millions of euros to be executed, to be developed, and to be adopted? Because that's what we're going for. So we have sketched, this is a sketch, of a new DAO concept. It has no owners, no shares. It's open source. 2 types of certificates at least. You have votes and you have a rev share. There's a set balance between the stakeholders. So, we call them stakeholders, by the way. And there's something special about this balance. Only the investors dilute. We flip the coin, right? So that's something else. What is also interesting here is that we cap the multiplier. So in venture capital, the game is different. Because of all the high risk, you want to increase the multiplier as high as you can, which is quite stressful. It's because most of the projects fail. But in this case, you don't invest in the startup. You invest in the open protocol itself. So let's say, for the sake of having a number, the cap is a maximum of 4x. Then the question for the investor becomes not how much or how high can the multiplier be, but how fast can I get my money back, my 4x, which is capped already, which is set. It's a non-speculative environment, fully regulated, and of course it includes a governance model. It's a sort of joint venture where the ecosystem from which this arises holds 10%. Why do you want that? Well, you want this ecosystem Could be Singularity Net, could be Ocean Protocol, could be a ministry, could be Odyssey. But then all of a sudden, it becomes interesting. The question becomes for people, perhaps in this room, on what level do you want to help? Would you like to help all the protocols a bit? Because then it would be interesting to have an ecosystem token. Or do you want to help the project itself? Right? And in case the arbitrage needs to be done, because there's some decision making that needs to be done in this joint venture, of course the ecosystem can help out as well. When you look at the rev share, and I'm looking especially for open public infrastructure where it's very clear to see what must go from A to B, and it is transaction driven. We could create a model where the adoption rate, which is of course very low in the beginning and it gets higher, and the price per transaction, so the higher the adoption, the lower the price per transaction. And it's very easy. If you invest money, you have an upside on the price per transaction. And then you can calculate when you get your money back. So you turn your investment, your cost in the IT infrastructure, into an asset that has a rev share, a revenue stream. So what do we want to enable? We want to enable a shared incentive to drive adoption. Because if you're an investor, you really want those transactions to happen. This is the only way you can get your money out. Yeah, or sell your tokens to another investor, but you can't sell your tokens outside of the entity. So the builders, the ecosystem, and the investors, which may very well be competitors, have a shared incentive to drive the adoption. I even have an incentive to get my competitors investing with me if the protocol is on the right level. So that would allow collaboration between entities that don't share the same interest per se, but have a mutual benefit from the protocol. And of course you want to turn the cost to as low as possible, and that means that kind of work is done, the protocol runs, then the cost should be as low as possible, and that is true because then the adoption is high. All the money was out. Well, we have no risk of the startup failure anymore because, of course, this can be forked. So if the startup fails, you still have the DAO, you still have the project, you still have the money in, and then the investors and the DAO can look for other builders. The other way around can happen, of course, as well. If the builders cannot align anymore with the investors, they can go their own way as well. Of course, such an entity is programmable. So turning it into an investment vehicle is the start. But Abe will show later on that you can think of more features and modules what this entity could do. This is, of course, highly experimental. And we need to explore all kinds of stuff, right? So what kind of tokens do we need? Maybe now, but also in the future. For example, what problem should the ecosystem work on? Well, a signaling token could help. What kind of dashboards do we need? Can I, as an investor or as an ecosystem, see exactly on this trajectory of adoption, when will I get my money back, or what will the price level be on the current trajectory of adoption, stuff like that. How will we handle protocol improvement proposals? How will we vote for them? How will we review them when they are done? So all these kinds of things need to be thought of when designing such a system. Of course, how will you set the transaction price? Right? Is the transaction price cheap enough for adoption? Right? And of course, how will all the interfaces look? But that's in the beginning, it will be quite basic. Small example of what kind of protocol we are looking for and what kind of projects are we looking for to simulate. The winners of the EU Blockathon we held in Brussels last year. We were lucky enough to be able to contribute our experience and knowledge in this hackathon. And the winners presented also last Monday on the Tech Deep Dive. They have created a virtual twin protocol to increase the level of integrity in the supply chain. So a token is released by the manufacturer, for example, of the Samsung phone that's lying over there. But for example, you have a phone and you have a virtual twin of the phone. The rule is very simple. If the phone gets out of the factory, you initiate the token, and the logistics party that gets it from the factory only accept the package if he also gets the virtual twin. And the customs have a special green lane for virtual twin packages, but it goes from one party to the other. With the virtual twin token, you can prove that you are the owner of a legitimate product, right? If you go one step further, one of our challenges is a cargo insurance protocol. It works a bit differently, because then if you hold the cargo, you are responsible for it, and therefore you can be insured and reinsured. What you can see here is that there are many stakeholders. So at the Blockathon we had KLM Cargo, we had DHL, FedEx, we had several manufacturers, you had several retailers like Alibaba and Amazon, and they all had an interest to make this happen. And when everybody has to pay up, that's when it gets difficult, because there's no vehicle for that yet. So this is the type of product where we hope to combine the urge to create such an infrastructure with the drive to get your money back, and that you are doing something with competitors, but you can still gain from that. So I invite you to help us explore this new type of investing. Hopefully we can go beyond the venture capital model. Hopefully we can go beyond the ICO model. And in this sketch are many, many things that need to be proven or unproven, but it is as far as we have come today. And we invite you on our Odyssey to get to really get a prototype working at the hackathon. And what are we looking, or how do we want to get to that prototype? That is something which Abe Scholte will explain after me. But thanks for now.
Thanks, Rutger.